Our first guest is a modern veteran of the television directing trenches. He's directed many episodes of Always Sunny. He's done tons of acting too. We can talk to him about that. But the most noteworthy thing is his movie Fist Fight is coming out February 17th, I think. It's got Charlie Day and Ice Cube in it. And let's bring him out, my new friend Richie Keane. Did I get that right? February 17th?
I'm so bummed I wasn't out here because you talked about two very important subjects.
Yeah.
And you pivoted amazingly from pissing to D&D, back to the double stream, back to D&D. I'm passionate about both these issues. I'm an OG D&D. I'm Gary Gygax, first edition D&D. Oh, shit. And ladies, for those of you who don't understand the double stream, there's women who are always wondering what's happened in there.
Right.
Why can't you hit it?
Yeah.
And you just explain. This is something that's not. You kind of just took the hit for everyone and got it out into the world. I appreciate that.
But I don't want to just like hide behind. Oh, my dick was glued shut every time.
Right. Right.
We're also weird, lazy giants that can't fucking keep it in the bowl.
I feel like this could be your thing. This could be a cause.
Piss ambassador?
Yes, this could be your. You could really get in front of this.
I wonder if shorter men are more popular with women in terms of toiletry hygiene. Like if a girl went out with like a 7-foot guy and then goes out with like a 5'5" guy, like if she's like, Michael's he's so clean, and they don't even really think like, yeah, it's probably like
size,
just distance, because
size is important. The closer you're hanging.
Yeah,
Spencer,
down there closer.
This is so exciting.
You don't have to be taller.
I'm almost 6'4", and when I'm at home, I generally sit because I'm too far away.
This is another important issue. Sitting.
It's all about
men sitting.
First of all, blessed is he that can sit down, as the Scandinavian poet once said. Sitting is great. We invented chairs for a reason. They're important things. But I'm going to splash. I'm too goddamn far away. Even if I nail it, even if I'm completely hitting the clown's mouth of the carnival, making the balloon go up, I'm still just... If my reward for hitting the water in the middle of the bowl and not hitting the seat is... refractory pee, toilet water coming out.
You're very passionate about this. I can see this.
I want to do the right thing. Right. I want to do the right thing.
I'm a nighttime sitter.
Really?
I sit at night in the middle of the night. If I got to get up, I don't want to put the light on. It's going to be a disaster.
I only pee sitting when it turns out I have to pee.
Noise.
Like if I have to take a poop, and then I'm like, oh, I had to take a pee.
I'm a nighttime sit down peer, but I'm a nighttime stand up pooper. I'm a stand up pooper.
You're a rare breed.
That's a mic drop. On the subject.
All right. Well, okay. So how did your career start, Richie, now that you're our new Hollywood friend? Because you're about to blow up, because this movie's probably very funny. We talked about 3 O'Clock High a lot. I don't know.
Amazing movie.
Some of the older fogies in the audience remember this movie, 3 O'Clock High, that was kind of like this cult hit. Yeah. It didn't really didn't make a huge splash. There weren't 9 sequels. I don't even remember. I met the actor that played the bully, I told you, at a party at Sam Simon's house, and he looked identical, but I can't remember the actor's name.
Richard Tyson.
Okay.
Amazing.
Is he here? What the hell? My name is Richard Tyson.
Frank Johnson from Johnson Management.
Also, I was in other movies.
2 clients.
I
Sparkles
was in
the
other
horse
films, too.
All right, we're talking over each other tonight.
Sorry.
I saw that.
Well, 3 O'Clock High also in an era of John Hughes movies where there was a lot of hearts and a lot of big comedy. 3 O'Clock High came out in that time, and it was dark and just edgy, and the cinematography was so interesting.
It had more. I remember seeing somebody talking about, I don't know. Directors, forgive me for a second. I think they're very silly people.
That's a fair point.
They're confusing to me because they think about things I don't think about. So when you meet a good one or one that understands I grab them and hug them and go like, please keep working with me forever, Justin Lin. Oh, okay, go do 9 Fast and Furious movies. like like why did I talk? I was watching like Hitchcock like he fucked with you more. It was like you were in the hands of a madman a little bit. Like there's all these different ways to talk about directing, like the philosophies. In 3 O'Clock High, John Hughes, I think maybe if you researched it, maybe you have, but like that he probably did things with his cameras and his cutting that made you feel like you were on not only John Hughes' side, but that John Hughes was on the character's side.
Absolutely.
Whereas Hitchcock, for instance, and then also whoever directed 3 O'Clock High, like they were kind of intentionally going, you don't know whose side I'm on.
I agree. Hitchcock really did fuck with you a lot. I mean, you see a movie like Psycho where you're supposed to be on one person's side in 20 minutes and she's killed. And you're like, oh, fuck, what just happened? And John Hughes, I agree, was very clear about whose side he was on. It
was the first time I was conscious as a kid in a movie theater watching 3 O'Clock High of all these like weird like dolly shots, like just kind of almost needlessly it was like, oh, that's a weird thing to do with the camera. And apparently it was based on High Noon, I assume, which I've never seen, but because of the high idea was in the beginning of 3 O'Clock High, the innocent kind of like sweater-clad, nebbish character, not necessarily a nerd, but certainly not a jock. He's just sort of a middleman in his high school biosphere, and he somehow accidentally offends this.
He touches him. That's the big rule. You can't touch him. And he says something like they run into each other at the urinal, and he says, I forget what he says, but he slaps him on the back, and, Buddy Revell turns around.
Buddy Revell!
Yeah. And he's fucked for the rest of the day.
And it was kind of like, that was after Ferris Bueller, right? Yeah. I assume that movie, because the guy was kind of, he had a Broderick look to him.
Right.
But he was sort of I think the thought balloon above his head, like everyone in the audience, was, I wish I was Ferris Bueller. But why is it that when I try to be Ferris Bueller, I end up in the crosshairs of the most terrifying man, this 35-year-old senior who now is going to see me after school at 3 o'clock, and the rest of the movie is just a psychological examination of your unraveling as you wait for 3 o'clock to show up.
But an amazing journey to watch. Like, I remember as a kid just being like mesmerized by that movie. Our movie is nothing like that, aside from the concept of there's going to be a fight after school, but I love 3 O'Clock High. I mean, I just think it's such a movie worth revisiting. Because,
I wouldn't have brought it up if I thought it was nothing like it. Okay, all right. Well,
no, I mean, the log line is very similar, which is there's going to be a fight after school. This just happens to be two teachers and not two students, and what happens along the way is very different. But it's a similar sort of, what the fuck would you do? The difference, I think, in Fist Fight is, even though Ice Cube goes a step too far early in the movie, as you go through the movie, if I did my job, and I hope I did, you might be on his side as he continues talking about why he wants to do this, and as Charlie starts to be sketchier and sketchier in his methodology of getting out of it. So it's a little bit more by the time you get to this big fight. I think my hope is that you're sort of kind of like, oh, I don't know who I want to see win and how this is going to go down. Whereas I think in 3 O'Clock High, you want him to get those brass knuckles and knock Buddy Revell out as quick, if you can.
Yeah. Did you remember My Bodyguard?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
I grew up in Chicago. All those movies. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. I grew up in John Hughes country. They were filming Ferris Bueller when I was a kid in my hometown. My Bodyguard. Those were all the movies of my youth.
Well, I like about 3 O'Clock High because I love that movie too. But also, is it a play on 12 O'Clock High? Like it's not just 3 O'Clock High School, like 3 O'Clock High, but it's also like 12 O'Clock High. Is like it's a war film, right? It's like
there's a movie called 12 O'Clock High.
There's an old war film from the 40s or 50s. And 12 O'Clock High, it's like he's 12 O'Clock High, it's like fighter pilots talking about like you're being attacked, like 3 O'Clock High.
I knew it was a high noon.
Like 3 o'clock, 3 O'Clock High, like look to your 3. And he's up there. Like you have someone coming at you at 3 o'clock.
Well, the focus is really on the time, so I just assumed that it was high noon because I'm sure high noon is like, at noon you're gonna fucking gunfight.
But school gets out at 3 o'clock, and so it's
that's what I'm saying. And you can't say high 3 o'clock.
You guys are agreeing, and you don't know it,
right?
There we are.
I want to step in and help.
I'm asking. I don't know if I'm conflating two things. I don't know if that was an intentional.
Well, I didn't know there was a war movie called
No one knows. No.
There wasn't. He's fucking drunk again. So you're like this. I said modern veteran because I was like, I didn't want to say veteran TV director because then it sounds like you're 70. But
no,
like I mean, the TV director's life is like very hand to mouth, traveling like samurai,
Willy Loman style.
You're never. I mean, as a guy who ran one of these shows, you never directed a Community, but you
I wish I had.
But like the directors are like we treat them like substitute math teachers.
Yeah,
like even the principal, if I could call myself that, treats them like substitute teachers. Like it's like, oh, welcome, shithead.
Right, get it done.
Just get it. Like, and then they go down into the hot box with the actors who are on their 80th episode, and the actors are like, I got this. Watch this. I call it the Allison. Like they direct themselves if they're worth their salt, and they'll bust the director's balls, and they make friends with some of them, and they torture some of them, and. But
every show is different. Every show is really different, and that's there's certain shows that you come into and it's like they want your help. When I do It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they're like, what do you want to do with this? What's your take? What should we play with? Just tell us where to stand, and we'll do what you want. Shameless is like making a movie. They're just like, go do whatever you want. John Wallace doesn't even have the writers on set. The Goldbergs, you're there to help. Mm-hmm. I'm there to help.
I'm sure.
Adam Goldberg. I'm there to help his vision. So, and they're all fun and different. It's really for me about point of view. Someone who has a strong point of view that I understand and I can help and hopefully be additive. And there are certain gigs where you're there just to help, and there's certain gigs where they need your help, and it's always different. And I was a private acting coach and acting teacher for a long time, and so I love to mix it up. When I hear someone's difficult, I'm like, let me in there. When I hear an actor, oh, this actor's tough, this actress is really difficult, I'm like, I can't wait. Like, that's fun for me. I know I'm going to reach that person. I know I'm going to find a way. I always do, and it's like, that's really joyful for me.
Yeah, well, with Chevy, the way into it.
Well, I've heard the story.
There would be directors that he would be like, "Is she coming back? I love her." They'd be like, "Why does Chevy love that director or this director?" And it was like they weren't bad directors, but they were just like they saw the writing on the wall and were like, "Nailed it, Chevy!" And like let's shoot Chevy out, and he was like, "I love that person." And anyways, but I did want to ask you, so you're kind of a man without a country when you're coming in, because unless you direct a pilot, I don't know how many people that are listening that are interested in working in TV versus features know, unless you direct a pilot, you're not really, you don't have ownership creatively or in actuality over that show. So you are just coming in, and you have like this really stringent period of time to shoot your episode, to prep your episode, to shoot your episode, and then you have like a little temporary office that's never going to be the best one. It's like there's no potted plant.
The director from last week has their shit still there.
Yeah, there's just scrawled switchblade carvings on the wall that are like don't eat the beans, or what's up, the cake is a lie. But you and then you have to, it's like you're always under the gun. There's like all this like shit probably politically like trickling down, and you're not, the line producer might show up on the set and say,
always
you got to eliminate 3 shots and all this stuff. So then you have to have this like clinical relationship with it, and then you have to do your director's cut. And you have like a week to do that, right? Yeah. And then at the end of that week, no matter where you're at with that edit, you got to go do another show. Otherwise, you won't pay your rent, really. So I guess my question is, how within that weird clinical morass, how do you find the pride? How do you find the empathy? Yeah. How do you find the passion?
It's like any portfolio of work or anything. You do a pilot and you have ownership. I have a pilot that I did a couple years ago. It's still going. It's paying for my wedding. Okay. Then you go do an episode of a show that you really love the people on, and you're there to help, and you're cool with whatever the showrunner does with your edit. Then you go make a movie, and it's a year and a half of your life, and it's all yours. And there's pros and cons, truly, to all of them. So for me, I started so late that it's a miracle that I get to do any of it. I was a comic, I was an actor, I was an acting teacher. So for me, that anyone wanted my help to begin with, I'm one of those annoyingly, truly grateful people who can't believe he gets to do it at all. And so it's a bonus when I come be a guest on a show and they're like, what do you think? And I find that happens now more and more as I return to the same shows over and over
But how
again.
do you keep from falling into the sand traps of either A, getting so excited about this episode of Sunny in Philadelphia, you're like, this is going to be fucking amazing, but I needed more time and I didn't have more time. Like, how do you keep from throwing a shoe and going like, no, let me take the weekend in the edit bay. Like, I'm almost done with my director's cut.
That happens. I mean, I'm lucky that the shows I work on are shows I really dig, and I really dig the showrunners. So if there's a situation where I feel like if I could just get a little more time, either I'll ask for it, or I know they're gonna elevate it. So why am I fighting? What's frustrating is when a line producer, understandably, is worried about something that I know you need, and you're in the writing room and you're not there, and it's a very tricky political situation, and I know I have to get it, and then I just have to be difficult and say, sorry, bro, I'm shooting it. But I don't, every once in a while I throw a shoe. Every once in a while my best self doesn't come out because of the things we're talking about. But for the most part, in television, I'm there to help, unless it's a show like the ones I do a lot of, which is no coincidence, where they feel they want my additive value. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, was that boring?
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to pissing and D&D.